Welcome to our presentation on leadership. We are Group 11 and we hope you enjoy our animation. In the simplest of terms, a leader is defined as a person who sets a direction for those around them. One who is able to socially influence others with goals, with a common vision. They don't necessarily relate to a position of power within the structure of a company, but rather to the way in which they are able to interact with those around them and maximize effort. So, what makes a good leader? To define a good leader, we must first decide on an appropriate set of characteristics to make judgment. A number of models have been developed which attempt to categorize different types of leadership. A simple yet common example is presented in the Lewin model, which has been used as a foundation for more recent and complex systems. Nonetheless, Lewin's model provides good coverage for all styles. This model separates leadership styles into three distinct categories: autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire. Each of these have their associated benefits and drawbacks, which we will now discuss in further detail.
Autocratic leaders employ an authoritarian style of leadership and are primarily known for their unilateral stance on decision-making. They assume complete control over their subordinates and adopt a one-way channel for communication through which they place their orders. There are a number of attributes which are characteristic of an autocratic leader, some of which are reputable and others which tend to cause issues in their use. They are usually decisive, meaning they are able to think over and swiftly make a decision in a complex situation. They also tend to be good communicators in that they are able to clearly explain what is required of their workforce. Assertiveness is another of their strong points, as autocratic leaders tend to remain strong in their opinions and directions. However, they can also be dominant, becoming aggressive towards their subordinates when challenged, and may also become overly critical of the work of others. This is generally the least effective leadership style of those considered. However, there are opportunities in which it may prove effective.
Take Martin Luther King Jr. for example. King was an activist, the leader of African-American civil rights movement, and is responsible for significant change in the advancement of civil rights. King was an exceptionally good public speaker, most notable for captivating his followers with "I Have a Dream" speech.
He employed a top-down leadership style, allowing his motivation to drive his movement, and his assertive personality pursued his followers to follow suit.
These styles are both robust examples of autocratic leaders applied in a positive way. Unlike many autocratic leaders, however, his lack of critiquing may have furthered his success, as King was generally compassionate to those who stood with him.
King proves that an autocratic leader can be successful in certain circumstances. This style can be beneficial while a significantly sized workforce renders a large management team inefficient in coordinating processes, such as in factories. It can also be useful while employees are inexperienced or require guidance, or while strong centralized control is required to make quick decisions, such as in the military. Democratic leaders exhibit a style which is contrasting to that of an autocrat. They are participative and allow for the inclusion of those around them in the decision-making process. Social quality is key in this scenario, and the leader is usually on hand to offer guidance and makes a final decision, but is otherwise open to brainstorming and opinions shared by subordinates.
Democratic leaders possess professional qualities which allow communal thinking to flourish in a group setting. The most fundamental attributes of a democrat are their diplomatic nature, the way in which they encourage their workforce to contribute, and the respect they show towards different levels of skill or knowledge. They are also effective in delegating tasks, and are able to outsource in situations where their knowledge is not optimal, thus increasing productivity. Democratic leaders are also trusting in their followers, which in turn allows for the return of respect, an integral feature of a successful workplace. This is an effective style due to the manner in which it prompts innovative thinking to thrive, and is the most widespread method of leadership present in social scenarios, government, and business today. A great example of a democratic leader is presented in Bill Gates. He is extremely participative, allowing all of his employees to be involved in the decision-making process. In fact, he frequently communicates with his information technology specialists on the development of new products as opposed to determining this direction himself. He identifies times where his extensive knowledge of IT is lacking and approaches his subordinates for their opinions. The trust he builds with these employees allows his company, Microsoft, to develop a base of loyal workers. This is inherently beneficial and can be seen as a reason for Microsoft's continued success. While Gates accepts opinions and supports brainstorming, he still makes the final decision and delegates work as appropriate. His leadership style serves as a concrete example of a democratic leader and demonstrates how successful its implementation can be. Democratic leadership is widely implemented in many forms of management. Some examples of its advantageous application include scenarios where innovation is required, in a setting where social equality is of high importance, or where a team of experienced professionals are able to freely express their views and capitalize on their skills.
Laissez-faire loosely translates to leave alone in French, and describes a style which is significantly different to either of the previous two styles explored, in that contribution to the operations of their company is minimal. In fact, they usually pass all the rights and power to their subordinates, and instead become a spectator with no input in the decision-making process other than a series of initial rules or goals to achieve. To classify the professional attributes of a laissez-faire leader, since they do not need to frequently employ their skills in management. Nonetheless, there are a couple of skills which are generally applied in this style. They are able to delegate their work to their subordinates in defining what is required of a company. This is usually a one-off event occurring at the beginning of a financial year, for example, and outlines what is required of a company within a set period. They are trusting and respectful of their workforce, putting good faith in the ability of their subordinates to achieve success in their companies. Other than this, there are no other attributes which must be applied by a leader employing the laissez-faire style. So, can this be successful? And if so, is there an appropriate example? A great instance of the effective application of this leadership style is presented in Warren Buffett, CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. Buffett employs a hands-off, values-based style, allowing his subordinates to take their own direction, rendering each of the 63 directors operating his subsidiaries as akin to owners. He contacts each of them only once a year, outlining goals through a letter, with not a single meeting being held. He has described his autonomous approach to leading these companies as to hire well and manage little, and this philosophy has provided great benefits. In 2009, his company registered an increase in stocks of 19.8%. From this example, it is quite obvious that if implemented correctly, laissez-faire leadership can be an effective form of management. Some scenarios are more advantageous, however. Examples of these include situations where subordinates are highly skilled, experienced, or educated, such as in STEM fields, or those where followers are greatly trusted, such as in established companies with long-term employees. When direction, feedback, or oversight is necessary, its implementation is ill-advised.
In conclusion, different situations attract different forms of leadership, and each of these has a strength in the respective fields. Summarizing the key aspects of each, an autocrat takes complete charge of the workforce. A democrat is open to insight, and a laissez-faire leader takes on a silent role.
From an engineering perspective, the innovation possible in a democratic environment implies that this style is best applied in the field. It allows for all those in design process, be an engineer or project manager, to both convey their thoughts and interact with opinions of others. This team-oriented approach allows for more diverse ideas in the decision process, and through diversity comes creativity, which in turn allows innovation to flourish.
We hope you have enjoyed our presentation. Thank you.